Dear friends, Jai Bhim Namo Buddhaya. Today I am going to read the third sublime virtue and the fourth sublime virtues, that is Mudit and Upekha. I am reading from this book, The Way to Nibbana. It is by Venerable Narada Thera. This book is published by Buddhist Cultural Center, Sri Lanka. I have already read about Karuna, compassion, and Metta, that is loving kindness. Now let us start the fourth virtue, the fourth way to become and to attain Nibbana or Nirvana in Sanskrit as it is called. Mudit or Mudita. The third sublime virtue is Mudit. It is not mere sympathy but sympathetic or appreciative joy which tends to destroy jealousy, its direct enemy. One devastating force that endangers our whole constitution is jealousy. Very often, some cannot bear to see or hear the successful achievement of others. They rejoice over their failures but cannot tolerate their success. Instead of praising and congratulating the successful, they try to ruin, condemn, and vilify them. In one way, Mudit is concerned over more with oneself. In one way, Mudit is concerned more with oneself than with others, as it tends to eradicate jealousy which ruins oneself. On the other hand, it aids others as well, since one who practices Mudit will not try to hinder the progress and welfare of others. As it is with loving kindness, it is easy to rejoice over the success of one's near and dear ones, but rather difficult to do so over the success of one's adversaries. Yes, the majority do not find it difficult. Yes, the majority not only find it difficult but also do not and cannot rejoice. They seek delight in creating very possible obstacle so as to ruin their adversaries. They even go to the extent of poisoning, crucifying, and assassinating the good. Socrates was poisoned, Christ was crucified, Gandhi was shot. Such is the nature of the wicked and deluded world. The practice of Metta and Karuna is easier than the practice of Mudita, which demands great personal effort and strong willpower. Do the Western nations rejoice over the prosperity of the Eastern and the Eastern over the prosperity of the Western? Does one nation rejoice over the welfare of another nation? Is one race happy over the growing prosperity of another race? Does even one religious sect which stands for the cultivation of morals rejoice over the spiritual influence of another sect? One religion is jealous of another religion. One part of the globe is jealous of another part of the globe. One institution is jealous of another institution. One business firm is jealous of another business firm. One family is jealous of another family. Unsuccessful pupils are jealous of successful pupils. Sometimes even one brother or sister is jealous of another brother or sister. This is the very reason why individuals and groups should practice sympathetic joy if they wish to sublimate themselves and be internally happy. The chief characteristic of Mudit is happy acquiescence in others' prosperity and success. Laughter and the like are not the characteristics of Mudit, as exhilaration is regarded as its indirect enemy. Mudit embraces all prosperous beings and is the congratulatory attitude of a person. It tends to eliminate any dislike towards a successful person. Now I will read Upekha. In Sanskrit it is called as Upeksha, but I am not sure. Let us read it as only Upekha. The fourth sublime state is the most difficult and the most essential. It is Upekha or equanimity. The etymological meaning of the term Upekha is discerning rightly, viewing justly, and looking impartially. That is without attachment or aversion, without favor or disfavor. Please listen this once again. The etymological meaning of the term Upekha is discerning rightly, viewing justly, or looking impartially, that is, without attachment or aversion, without favor or disfavor. Equanimity is necessary, especially for laymen who have to live in an ill-balanced world amidst fluctuating circumstances. Slights and insults are the common lot of mankind. The world is so constituted that the good and the virtuous are often subjected to unjust criticism and attack. It is heroic to maintain a balanced mind in such circumstances. Loss and gain, fame and infamy, praise and blame, pain and happiness are eight worldly conditions that affect all humanity. I will repeat this again. Loss and gain, fame and infamy, praise and blame, pain and happiness are eight worldly conditions that affect all humanity. Most people are perturbed or disturbed when affected by such favorable or unfavorable states. One is elated when one is praised, and depressed when blamed and revealed. He is wise, says the Buddha, who amidst such vicissitudes of life stand unmoved like unto a firm rock, exercising perfect equanimity. The Buddha's exemplary life offers us worldlings an excellent example of equanimity. There was no religious teacher in the world who was so severely criticized, attacked, insulted, and reviled as the Buddha, and yet none so highly praised, honored, and reverenced as the Buddha. Once he went in quest for alms. He was called an outcast or untouchable by an impertinent Brahmin. He became endured. He calmly endured the insult and explained to him that it is not birth that makes one an outcast, but an ignoble character. The Brahmin was converted. Inviting him to a house for alms, a certain man entertained the Buddha with the filthiest language current in his time. He was called swine, brute, ox, etc. But he was not offended. He did not retaliate. Calmly, he questioned his host what he would do when guests visited his house. He replied that he would prepare a feast to entertain them. Well, what would you do if they did not partake of it? Questioned the Buddha. In that case, we ourselves would partake of the feast. Well, good brother, you have invited me to your house for alms. You have entertained me with a torrent of abuse. I do not accept it. Please take it back. Calmly replied the Buddha. The offender's character was completely transformed. Retaliate not. Be silent as a crack gone when you are abused by others. If you do so, I deem that you have already attained Nibbana, although you have not realized Nibbana. Such is the advice of Buddha. These are golden words that should be given heed. to in this ill-disciplined world of today. Once a lady of the court induced some drunkards to reveal the Buddha so much that Venerable Anand, his attendant disciple, implored the Buddha to leave the city and go elsewhere, but the Buddha was unperturbed. Another woman feigned pregnancy and publicly accused the Buddha of having placed her in that condition. A woman was killed by his rivals and the Buddha was accused of murder. His own cousin and disciple Devdutt made an unsuccessful attempt to crush him to death by hurling a rock from a cliff. Some of his own disciples accused him of jealousy, partiality, favoritism, etc. On the other hand, many sang the praise of the Buddha. King prostrated themselves before his feet and explained the highest reverence. Like the Mother Earth, the Buddha suffered everything in silence with perfect equanimity. Like a lion that does not tremble at every sound, one should not be perturbed or disturbed by the poisoned darts of uncurbed tongues. Like the wind that does not cling to the meshes of a net, one should not be attached to the illusory pleasures of this changing world. Like the lotus that is unsoiled by the mud from which it springs, one should live unaffected by worldly temptations, ever calm, serene, and peaceful. Metta embraces all beings. Karuna embraces sufferers. Mudita embraces the prosperous, and Upekha embraces the good and the bad, the loved and the unloved, the pleasant and the unpleasant. He who wishes to be divine in this life itself may daily cultivate these four sublime virtues which are dominant in all. He who wishes to perfect himself and compassionately work for the welfare of all beings in the course of his countless births in sansar may strenuously develop the 10 perfection or parami and ultimately become Samma Buddha, a supremely enlightened one. He who wishes to eradicate his passions and put an end to suffering by realizing Nibbana at the earliest possible opportunity may diligently follow the unique, noble, eightfold path which still exists in its pristine purity. The Buddha exhorts, suppose, O monk, this mighty earth were one mass of water, and a man were to throw down thereon a yoke with one hole. Then comes a wind from the east and wafts it west, and a wind from the west and wafts it east. A north wind wafts it south, and a south wind wafts it north. Then once, at the end of 100 years, a turtle, blind in one eye, pushed his neck through that yoke with one hole when he popped up to the surface at the end of 100 years. It is difficult, Lord, that the turtle would do that, said the monks. It is just as difficult, O monks, that one will get birth in human form, just as difficult that a Tathagat should arise in the world, an Arhat, a fully enlightened one, just as difficult that the Nom or Dham and disciple or Vinaya proclaimed by Tathagat should be shown in the world. But now indeed, O monk, the state of human birth is one, and a Tathagat has arisen in the world, and the norm and discipline proclaimed by Tathagat is shown in the world. Wherefore, O monks, ye must make an effort to realize this is ill, this is the cause of ill, this is the cessation of ill, this is the way leading to the cessation of ill. What he is telling this about the Nibbana. So we will continue with the Nibbana, concept of Nibbana in Buddhism. We would start morality, then we will do the way to Nibbana, that meditation part. So see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Jai Bhim Namo Buddhaya.